What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer this afternoon. Logan Landis, and joining us once again is our NFL insider, Trey Sims. Trey, what's going on, man? How's your Wednesday going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. And before we get started here today, if you guys enjoy the show, be sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe. Facebook and YouTube, we go live each and every single week. And you can also go and download our podcast. Everywhere you listen to podcasts like Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you could think of, you can find us over there. And that is thanks to the fine folks over at the Believe Podcast Network for hooking us up and distributing our shows out all over the web. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, their schedule preview. All the schedules came out for all the teams of the week. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about the big games. And also, we'll start things off here, Trey, with a hot take that you heard that we'll kind of get into. So why don't you explain to the people out there listening what you heard and the blasphemy that you believe it is?
Well, what I heard when the schedule came out last week, I can't remember what day it came out, but I'm not going to say any names, but I heard that NFL Insider said that they might go 0-6. And then there was a story about on First Take, and there was a story on NFL Live, and people were agreeing with this person. And I was like, that's crazy to me because first of all, Pittsburgh hasn't gone 0-6 since 1989. So that's what, 40 years? Like might be longer than that. My man might be off right there. So that's crazy. But people might say I'm biased because I'm a Steelers fan. So I was going to ask you, since you're not a Steelers fan, we can go through the first 6 games right here. They got the Jets, the Seahawks, the Patriots, Vikings, a bye week, Cleveland, and then Cincinnati. Mind you, that Cleveland game, it's at Pittsburgh. Cleveland hasn't been at Pittsburgh in like 5 or 6 years. That's when, and Cleveland's coming off of playing in London the following week, and Pittsburgh has a bye week. Yeah, like that. I'm gonna go ahead and just guarantee that's a W for Pittsburgh. So that's at least one win off the rip. And then I don't think none of these two, out of those 6 teams, Logan, how many of those are what you say are Super Bowl contenders?
I mean, question marks around the Vikings, right? You don't know because they got rid of Sam Darnold, even though they had a great year last year. So I mean, they might have the best chance, right? Because Seattle probably second behind them, right? But I don't think New England is there. Obviously, Cleveland has just a mess over there. The Patriots aren't. So I mean, I don't think any of these 6 teams you're facing off rip or could be in the Super Bowl. The best shot, though, is probably the Vikings. Seahawks, maybe a second. But other than that, no, I don't see anything crazy.
Okay, so let's not say Pittsburgh's a Super Bowl contender, but I know they could definitely compete for the playoffs. How many of those teams are playoff contenders?
I would go – I still go 2 with my 2 picks there. I'm going to go Minnesota and Seattle at least fighting for the playoffs. I don't think the Jets are that – I don't know what they expect with the Jets, right? This is pretty much a brand-new club. New England just came off of a rebuild year. And so, I mean, I know they got a whole lot of new pieces and whatnot, but, it's still a tough division out there. So I'll still go with 2. I'll go with my 2 original picks.
Okay. And just to throw it out there, maybe Cincinnati, depending on how their defense shapes up. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go the first 6 games. I'm going to go 5-1 with maybe the loss being at Cincinnati or 4-2 with adding the Vikings, because like I said, they're up and down. What would you say? Since again, I'm a Steelers fan, I don't want any bias towards me, but you're not. So
here's how I'll play it. Right, week 1 against the Jets. I mean, there's still rumors that y'all are going to get Aaron Rodgers. Right, that's still out there. If you do, that's a revenge game for him, and I think he would get that. But I still think that Pittsburgh is a better squad than the Jets. I know the Jets have some good players, but I think Pittsburgh, and we know Pittsburgh usually gets off to a pretty hot start most of the season. So I think they'll get the 1-0 win. Seattle could be a toss-up. I could see either team win that one. I might give it to Seattle. New England, you should win. That should be a 2-1. You start right there. Minnesota, also a tough one. It really just kind of depends for me how J.J. McCarthy looks early on. If he looks sharp, then they might have a shot. You have Justin Jefferson, of course, who's one of the best receivers in the league. So, I mean, that's kind of a toss-up, but still, let's just go 2-2, right? Let's just go 2-2, even it out. So after them, we've got a bye, or you've got Actually, I missed it for a couple here. Hold on. Yeah, so you got New York. You're gonna beat them. Seattle toss up. New England 2-1, 2-2 after Minnesota. Right. Then you're off for a bye week. You get to rest and relax. And also, let's not forget too. You see the start time for that Minnesota game. That is 9:30 a.m. That's because y'all are going to be not even in the States. You're going to be in Dublin, England, or Ireland, rather. So you're going to be overseas. So jet lag, everything. I mean, that's also another reason where it's hard to pick a winner in that one, just because you're not even going to have a home crowd per se. Looking at the rest of the squad, though, like I said, Cleveland, I don't trust Cleveland at the moment. They have to. It's one of those teams that they have to prove something to me first before anything. So I see them going in the first 6. We'll just go here. Or the first 5 games. Cincinnati, I'll go 4-2 for the Steelers for my best case scenario. I think that it's a good squad. Like I said, we got some comments here. Yeah, you do have a tough schedule, and George Pickens is gone too, so that you're gonna have to find someone or find kind of who's gonna be that immediate answer. I know you've got some good offseason acquisitions, but it's more of a what have you gone from lately? It's a new season, new coach, new quarterbacks. All that's kind of up in the air. So that's why I see at least the first 6 games coming out for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. But let me scroll down here. We look at some of the rest of the games here. It's like so. You got Cincinnati, you got their division rivals there. You got Green Bay, Indianapolis. Both those going to be home games. Then you go on the road against the Chargers, followed up by another game versus the Bengals. You take on Chicago on the 23rd. That'll be an interesting game. Chicago was loaded up this offseason. A lot of hype around them. Buffalo's going to be a tough one. All right? We know Buffalo is a rough one for many, many years now. Baltimore also, that's kind of a murderer's row, those 2 right there. Miami, I don't know about Miami, right? I don't know. Because on paper, they got some really good team. They got some really good players, but we've been saying that for how many seasons now? Detroit, that might be a tough one. I know they've lost a lot of pieces over the years, and they've lost coordinators, both offensive and defensive. But I still believe in what Dan Campbell's doing out there in Detroit overall. You follow that up with another game against Cleveland, and then it's a flex game in Week 18 against the Ravens. There, we don't know when that's going to get played or anything along those lines. But I mean, for the most part, right, the first 6 you got a good chance, right? I say 4-2, give or take. Middle of the road, middle of the season gets a little tougher, right? You got some good teams like LA who made it to the playoffs last year. Green Bay, if Jordan Love can have a bounce back season. Of course, Chicago is a wild card. We know that Baltimore and Buffalo are both going to be tough, as well as Detroit. So there's not really a whole lot of cupcake games you got this season, Trey. It's a pretty it's going to be teams who are going to be, for the most part, competitive, I feel. And there's not going to be any teams who are, top 2, top 3 in the draft, I don't think, after the season's over. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as the full schedule, like you said, I like it because I don't really want easy games. As just me as a competitor, I don't like anything easy. So I like when the season's over with. If Pittsburgh has a good record, you can't say, well, they played a cupcake schedule. You're gonna be like, well, they played, like you said, the Ravens, the Bengals, they played the Lions, the Bills. They had the Colts, because the Colts, they're a team that's always going to be at least competitive. The Chargers, they got that stretch for the Packers, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Bears. Those are all teams that's like could be good, they could be mediocre, and they could, you don't know, but like it's going to be something you can't just walk through. You can't just sleep in those games, or you could lose. And which people can say about Pittsburgh, even though they can say they could be good, they could be bad, they could be mediocre, somewhere in between. So I like the balance scale of the schedule, and so I like also that the primetime games, they got 4 primetime games, so they're going to be like, because they got Sunday night, 2 Sunday nights, a Monday night and a Thursday night game, and then they got the quote unquote primetime games, the 3:45 games, or the 4:25 games with the Lions and the Bills, and then they got the overseas game. So to me, they got like 7 primetime games that they're gonna be on TV, plus the flex game, which the Ravens at the very end of the season. You never know what that's going to be. That could be for the division. That could be, you never. So I like it. You can see that you're gonna be on TV. You got good competition, and I feel like they should be at least a very interesting schedule at the very least.
So I found this quote here, and it's a prediction from a former quarterback of the team, Ben Roethlisberger, of course, who's a lot of people say he's the best quarterback in Steelers franchise history. He was given a preview of the season after the schedule came out, and in a quote he says, "I have us at 7-10 without Aaron Rodgers. I have us at 11-6 with Aaron Rodgers," because he says that's called 3 letters, HOF, meaning Hall of Fame. That'll get you a few more wins. So. Just want to get your thoughts on that, and then we'll give our final thoughts and our predictions for how the Steelers season will go. So, do you think it'll be 7-10 without him, or 11-6 with him?
I don't think he'll beat 7-10 without him, because even with that, people are basing off of Mason Rudolph. But I want to go back to 2019 when Mason Rudolph was literally the quarterback because Ben got hurt, and they had Duck Hodges. They rotated them with a worse. I would like to say a worse Mason Rudolph because he was in his second year. So now I would think he's at least better than, now that he is then, even though that's obviously the teams and stuff are different. But I think the Pittsburgh defense is going to be one of the better defenses in the league, which is how they usually win games. They're going to hold teams to a reasonable number. And if you could just make plays down the stretch as an offense, because someone said that they lost George Pickens, but they still picked up DK Metcalf. Their running game should be better with Caleb Johnson, and the offensive line is healthy, and it should be more improved because they were young last year. They drafted a tackle who was hurt. He's coming back healthy. They drafted the center. They drafted the guard. So they all should at least get better, hopefully. So the offense shouldn't be as bad as people are saying they should be, or is going to be. So if you can just score a little bit and the defense does what it usually does, I feel like you could be able to compete. So without Aaron, I think it'll be somewhere around like 9-8. But with them, 11-6 is good. 12-5, 11-6, somewhere around there with Aaron Rodgers. That's my, thoughts on that.
So with Pittsburgh, like I said, they've kind of just been stuck for the last couple of years, right? They've been 10-7 the last 2 seasons. They both got knocked out in the wild card back-to-back seasons. You're coming to this year, you've made some good acquisitions in the offseason and the draft. But everyone is still looking at that quarterback situation, obviously, as we get closer and closer now. We're just, a week and some change away from the start of June. And there is still no solidified at this time QB1. And that's kind of been the talk of the Steelers and their fans for all off season, really since the season ended. And Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson left town. So I think that whoever the quarterback is, right? Because we'll do another video on that whenever that's finally solidified. I could see them getting to 11 wins on the year. 12 might be pushing it, I think. Last time y'all got 12 wins was in 2020, and that was also a year when y'all lost in the wild card, unfortunately. So that's just kind of been just kind of the monkey on the back of this team forever now. It's just you do good in the regular season, get to the playoffs, and then one and done. So that, and that's why a lot of people have kind of been starting to talk about Mike Tomlin, saying is this the right move? Is he the right coach still? Just because of you have success in the regular season. These aren't any poor seasons by any stretch of the reason. We all know the whole streak he has of finishing above 500. I think that's going to continue. I don't see that falling off. But I could see Pittsburgh going anywhere from 9 to maybe 11 wins on the season. 12 pushing it just because of the very tough schedule overall. And I don't know if they have quite the pieces at this time. I don't feel, supremely confident in this team at this moment. But like I said, it could surprise me. They could go out there, have a really good season. So I kind of see that being their range, pretty similar to yours in that, they are going to finish above 500. This streak will continue. But I don't think they're going to be, top of the league, getting 14, 15 type of win seasons yet. But I also don't see them being, bottom of the barrel with 5, 6, 7 wins or even less. So it's a team that it's interesting, right? But I'll go, a little bit above kind of what the status quo has been for this team in recent years.
I will say Ben also said, I think, because it was during his podcast, he did say that was his initial, because without seeing anything, without just looking at the schedule, not seeing nobody put past, no one seeing all these teams, how they mesh. He just said that was his initial thoughts. So I guess it is everybody's initial thoughts, and then you'll watch a couple of games or watch preseason or even watch training camp, and people will start having different thoughts. So I guess you have to revisit it when the season starts, and then maybe people's thoughts and their how you view any of these teams could change. So
yeah, I mean, a
and
lot
if
can
people get
change.
hurt,
Yeah,
so
that's something you can't predict. We're just talking about everyone's going to be fully healthy throughout the year and so on and so forth. And, you can do that in Madden, but you can't do that in real life, unfortunately. But I think Pittsburgh, you're going to have some games where, you could definitely go and win some close ones, but also some toss-ups where you could lose by, a score, by a field goal, by a touchdown. Because it's not an easy schedule, but, this is really telling. I believe, and I want to get your final thoughts on this, of the coaching of Mike Tomlin this season, maybe more so than any of the others in the past, just because of all of the changes that have been made to this squad here in the last handful of months.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, like I think if anybody could do it, it is Mike Tomlin still personally, because like you said, he's done it before and with different rosters, different circumstances. So, and like I said, I think if he does get his quarterback, which is Aaron Rodgers, that definitely helps. A lot of this factors into what quarterback is playing. So,
Right,
so
exactly, yeah.
like you said, if they get Aaron, you view the team completely different than you do right now. So, but yeah, let's.
Should we get like a countdown clock maybe for all of our Wednesday shows and just have like, days Aaron Rodgers has been without a football team, or days until he signs with the Steelers. I mean, training camp last year with the Jets, he was barely there too. Granted, he is a veteran, right? And they do tend to kind of be more lenient with that, but I mean, you got to make a new team. You got to be on a new roster here. And I mean, I don't hear any other teams interested in signing him at this time. It's kind of been, all signs point down to Pittsburgh with Rodgers, and I haven't heard anywhere else interested in signing him, because there's not a whole lot of places, Trey, that need a quarterback as a starter, especially a veteran.
Yeah, I heard earlier. You heard the Vikings, but that died down. But I saw earlier this last week or this week that he's getting close to signing, or he's going to sign before training camp. So it's a lot of noise in the air. But like you said, we'll just have to wait and see at this point. As we've been doing.
Time will definitely tell, but we'll see how this Steelers team does. But that's been our team preview, our schedule preview for this team. A lot of good matchups overall this season, and we'll see how it shakes out once the season kicks off. Well, Trey, thank you so much for coming on the show, talking about your team, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their team preview, their schedule preview, with your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, drop a comment. Put what you think the Steelers record is going to be at the end of the season. And until next time, we'll talk to you all again on another live episode.